Good day, folks. This is Greg Judy, Green Pastures Farm. Not too much green this morning. They said it was going to snow, and I didn't believe them. I didn't believe that we would get anything to stick because it had been in the 70s all week, so the ground temperature's warm. We've already got earthworms up chewing through the manure pats, starting on that, and our ground litter that the cattle trampled on the ground. It's just unbelievable. There's all kinds of worms in there, but they got a little frost on their little heads this morning. I mean, it's unbelievable how this snow stuck to everything. I mean, look at that. That's just a little twig. I hate to say it, it is kind of pretty. That's an autumn olive. That's an autumn olive tree, the ones that are trying to take over our farm. People say, oh, but autumn olives, they're not bad. They don't have thorns on them. Oh, yeah, they do. Look at that booger. That'll go through a leather glove in a heartbeat. So don't listen to people when they tell you autumn olives, oh, they're just friendly little things. They don't have thorns. They do. And when they poke you, it's brutal. It hurts. It is pretty though, I gotta admit. An autumn olive, that's a big autumn olive right there. They are pretty when they're covered with snow. Creek's flowing this morning. Got a little babbling creek that meanders through this farm. Last year we had minnows in there and some little bluegill and bass, because the ponds on this farm overflow and they go into this creek, and so it carries fish. But the coons usually catch them. That cedar tree, it's just completely covered, all the branches with snow. That's why, the old timers called these outdoor barns. You look under this cedar, look at that. There's no snow on the ground. And that's because the cedar caught all the snow. So if you got a cedar grove and you're expecting a blizzard, a lot of really nasty cold wind, snow, get your cows so they have access to a cedar grove, and they're just as comfortable as ever. It knocks the wind down. It's about 20 degrees warmer under a cedar grove than it is out in the open. And it blocks the snow. The trees catch the snow. It doesn't end up on the animals. So it's actually, the old timers had it named pretty appropriately, I think. They call them outdoor barn. So that's why I do like some cedars, especially when they're down in the draws like this out of the wind. Man, you couldn't pay me to cut that cedar. It's a wonderful tool, another part of your ecosystem that is kind of nice to have. They just block a lot of wind too. Well, there's quite a few big ones on this farm. I'm leaving them, I'm not touching them. These darn things, the ones on the creek, I always see deer down in here and such, and I'm like, I'm not gonna tackle these. These are right on the creek bank. They're actually, kind of holding the creek. When those things put out 40 million little berries, that the birds eat them, and then they poop them. We can see where they poop them all over my pasture. So it's kind of a constant deal. You got to stay on top of the autumn olive, or the autumn olive will be on top of you. You won't have any grass. There's a pair of Canadian geese. We have quite a few geese that nest on our farms. Altogether, across the farms, I think I counted the other day, we've got right at 48 ponds. And some of them are, bigger than a pond. Some are like an acre. Got a couple that are I think there's 3 that are 3 to 4 acres. And I don't know, I kind of like the geese coming in. A pair of them, I don't want 50 of them out there. I have a really good friend Kansas City, that's how he makes his living. He has dogs, and he goes around all the time in Kansas City running the geese off of people's lakes and lawns because they just poop and poop and poop and poop and eat the grass, and they can turn your backyard into a feedlot if you get, 30, 40 of them out there. Geese really eat a lot of grass. And of course, they're a big bird, they poop, and people don't appreciate them in their backyards. They go out there sitting in a lawn chair and their feet are in goose manure. So he's actually made a living of it. He goes and patrols, it's called Geese Police. And yeah, he's got border collies, and I think he has a kayak. He takes out into the bigger lakes and runs them off. Pretty cool. That's thinking outside the box right there. But look at this beautiful morning. I mean, it's just, I got to enjoy it because it's not going to be here long. It still amazes me, you start getting this kind of snow. It's on the power lines too. That's a lot of weight. I mean, it's just a little tree. It's holding it up, but you can tell that tree's bent over. Think about power lines, these big power lines, and they get all that snow and ice froze on them. That's a lot of weight, and then the wind kicks up. And then you wonder why you lose power. Yeah. It's just a lot of weight to hold. This is just a beautiful area. Every time I come down in here, not every time, but I bet you 80% of the time I kick deer out of here. They're always in this area, and I can see why they are. There's lots of sprouts. Deer are not grazers. Deer are browsers. So they need all different levels of vegetation. They'll eat grass, they'll eat clover, but they need brush. They need these autumn olive tips. They graze the tips of these autumn olives. This thing's actually starting to get green. Look at that. It's going to be another couple weeks. That thing's going to have leaves on it. So high energy plant tips. That's what the deer thrive on. They've got to have it or they don't do so well. You can put deer, lock them in a pasture with no browse, and they're not going to do the best. They've got to have some of this stuff. Sheep and goats do good in this type of environment right here too. So we've got some work to do before we bring sheep in here, but it may be in the plans in the future on this. This is that new farm that it doesn't have that much brush on it, but it's got some. It's got quite a bit of the autumn olives on it, so we're always fighting those darn things. But it's just the way it is. As the old timer said, it goes with the territory. You can see the snow's already starting to come out of the trees. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. It's a beautiful morning. I'm going to enjoy the rest of it with the livestock. We still got some moving to do. And y'all have a good one, and we'll see you next time. Got a bunch of y'all already signed up for our grazing school. That's coming up in May. We had the advanced school with Ian. That's the first week of May, and then Abram Bowerman and myself will be doing a beginning grazer school the week after that. So check it out, greenpasturesfarm.net, and maybe y'all can, some of y'all will be lucky enough you can come and kind of see what's going on and maybe save yourselves a lot of money in making mistakes on your farm before you start. We have a lot of people over the years that's come to that school. They didn't own any land. They didn't own any cattle, but they wanted to make sure when they started out that they kind of had a good blueprint, the things to do and the things not to do, because the best way to make a small fortune in the beef cattle industry or any grazing industry or any livestock industry, the best way to make a small fortune is to start with a large fortune. Unfortunately, that's true. So many people have a ton of money. They've made it from their town job. They've retired. Nothing wrong with that, except for when you go in the ranching business, ranching don't play fair. If you make some unwise decisions and spend money where you shouldn't, that's sunk capital. You're not going to get that back. So make sure you make the right decisions. And between Ian and I and Abram, you're going to go home armed with all the tools you need for your own grazer's toolbox so that you can be successful on your grazing operation. That's what we want. We want people to be successful. And it's a great business to be in, but you got to do it right. Otherwise, it could be a wreck, and a costly one at that. Folks, y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time.